4. Sex's disclosure. I woke up because that damn vampire began manhandling my body as if I was little more than a rag doll. He moved me forward in the water, climbed into the tub, and sank down behind me, forcing my thighs apart with his knees to slide me down on his hard cock. No warning, and with minimal preparation, just the way the sadistic prick liked it as consequent sex. I cried out and bit my lip, drawing blood. Blood hitting the air for vampires was like blood falling into the water for sharks. With a snarl of lust, Marcus drew himself completely from my portal, and I tried not to tense up. Knowing what was coming, I did anyway. His re-penetration was brutal, and I screamed, just like he wanted me to. My body went rigid. I arced backwards, and my neck ended up on his shoulder. I heard him gasp sharply when he saw the blood trailing from my lacerated lip. He lapped at the thin line that had run down my throat, turning my head easily in order to get every last drop of my blood by wrapping his fist around the hair he insisted I grow out. His tongue cleaned my lower lip and brushed at my teeth, gathering up every tiny trace. My blood was like an aphrodisiac to him, usually ramping him higher and rougher. When my body took over from my brain, I urged him on, wanting him to drive me stupid with ecstasy. I was almost ill, thinking of what I wanted from him, that I gave myself to him even though he was using this as punishment for not finishing my 10K run on the treadmill. What had I allowed him to turn me into? You sick fucking vampire prick. He paused mid-thrust. I heard that. Marcus tightened his fist in my hair, forcing my head up higher and tilting it towards him so he could stare at me with those low, glowing red eyes. He was aroused, but not so much to be out of control. He made sure I was watching as his fangs descended. It was still a soul-chilling horror to watch that creep show. He was going to bite me, and he knew that there was nothing I could do to stop him. It wouldn't have mattered, even if I wasn't impaled on him. His strength was inhuman because he was inhuman. His red eyes caught fire and he smiled. Oh my God, he's going to screw me while drinking again. No, 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 no. I fought him for all the good it would do me. My futile attempts only made my hips move, which aroused him even more, and all the thrashing made me seem to be a willing participant in one of my daily rapes. My hands came up and I tried to push his face away. I managed to wedge a finger in one of his nostrils, so I jammed it deeper and tried to rip his nose off his damn face. I was rewarded with a headbutt. I saw stars, just like in the cartoons, and then everything tumbled into darkness. I guess I won this round. It seemed that my little victory party was going to have to be held off. I awoke to searing pain in my ass and my throat. He'd done it anyway, the bastard. Well, at least I hadn't been present for the dual sensations of Marcus trying to make my rape pleasurable and using me as his own drink box of blood. Sensual, flavored, erotically spiced, and spiked with a healthy dose of terror. Damn, I'm in pain and so very weak and thirsty. Just how much did he take? I heard the tinkle of ice cubes hitting the glass walls of a tumbler as it was filled with liquid. The sound made me take note of my situation. I was crouched on the floor. My knees felt bruised and aching from kneeling for what must have been a long period of time. It was obvious I had been out for quite a while. My shoulders were aching and... wait a minute. My wrists were cuffed behind my back. Ugh, that ass! There are times, Sex, when I become very exasperated with you. Just when I think you and I are coming to an understanding, you find another avenue to take to annoy me. Which just leads to more discipline and training for you. It would be refreshing if you would remember that for once. I mean, it is not always pleasure for me to punish you. I grow weary of it too, when it brings you no pleasure, my pet. Marcus came to a stop in front of me. I knew he was waiting for me to sit up and beg just like a good little puppy, but I stayed hunched over and simply stared at the floor. I wasn't going to help him belittle me anymore. He sighed and continued on. Just because of what you did today, you have lost the privilege of using your arms. If you want to eat, I will have to feed you. If you want to drink, it will be from my hand. And as we have learned from the past, I will force what you need into you if I must. He picked me up by the scruff of the neck with one hand and dragged my dead weight ass to the long leather couch that was in the room. It was made of a very soft leather, and its color was black, to minimize the show of blood when he punished me. He threw me there now, to land crumpled on the floor, and then he sat down on its cushions, opened his legs, and set me between his knees. His massive hand took my chin and pulled me up to my own knees, and then he turned my head to the right so he could take a look at how savagely he'd ravaged my neck. He hissed, and his lips flattened into a straight line. My neck had to look as wonderful as it felt. I took you in anger because of this. He pointed to his face. A jagged, thin line of healing showed that I had done some damage to his nose, but to no avail, as it was already mostly healed. I may not have managed to rip it off, but at least I ripped it open. I knew better than to smile in triumph, though. How triumphant can one be when they've been raped and used as a snack pack? I looked away, finding the grey concrete of the floor more interesting than his new scar. Marcus put his glass down, cut my head with both hands. I panicked and tried to pull away. Sex. I'm just going to lick you. You know my saliva has healing properties. We have done this before. Yes, we had done this before when he'd ripped something open because I wouldn't roll over and wiggle for him like a grateful mongrel pup someone had picked up in a gay bar. His saliva burned like iodine. I shivered as I felt that tongue brush my skin. His spittle felt warm on my flesh. Then he touched the fanged puncture wounds. I was wrong. It wasn't like the moderate sting of iodine. It was more like the pouring of acid into an open wound. I gritted my teeth and thrashed, but he held on to me with that incredible strength he had and licked at the wounds again. Damn it! At one point in my life, I would have fought the burning sensation behind my eyes, but what was the point? In front of him or alone in the playroom, either way I'd end up sobbing. It wouldn't feel so drained if I let my tears fall when they wanted to, rather than trying to bottle them up. So now, I cried openly. I have scarred you. Marcus sat back and looked over his handiwork with a frown. And in a place that cannot be easily hidden. You will have to wear turtlenecks or scarves when we go out, he said, so matter-of-factly. Go out? He was letting me go out? I'd been naked, or naked in chains, more often than not since the day I woke up here. My workout clothes, when discarded for a shower, mysteriously disappeared, leaving me with nothing but a towel to wear more often than not. All I know for sure is that when I wake up, I see Mark get screwed, whether I want it or not. Like I ever wanted it. Just because he found me in a gay bar didn't mean that was the way I was inclined. I sniffed. My universe had shrunk down to 3 rooms, the bathroom, the living room, and the playroom, and I try like hell to stay out of the playroom. This was the first time he's mentioned anything about going back out into the real world. You like this? He was using his thumbs to wipe the tears from my face. I stayed there passively until he was done, and then silently watched as he picked up the glass he was carrying before he slobbered on my neck and put it down in front of me, with a little red straw in it pointed at my mouth. Cranberry juice on ice with a lime wedge floating in it. Every damn day I get the same damn thing. I took the straw in my mouth and began drinking, mainly because I was thirsty, but also because Marcus had no qualms about forcing me to drink it. I'd gotten a cracked tooth trying to argue over how he had gotten a dentist down here was anyone's guess. Amazing, and a bit scary. Your body accepts me. He reached between my legs and grabbed my cock. I gagged and coughed on the mis-swallowed juice and winced as it burned my nasal passage. Marcus laughed, then pulled me up to my feet by my cock and set me back against him on the couch. His left hand stroked me, getting me hard, while the other took the straw out of my mouth and wiped my running nose with a tissue. Your body accepted me a long time ago. He tapped my temple 3 times with his finger. Now, I want this. I could feel his arousal through his pants, nudging at my bare backside. He took my legs, hooked them around his own knees, and spread me wide, all the while stroking my cock into an erection. Stop this. I don't want this. I don't want to be your damn fuck toy. Yes, you do, my little one. And you are not my fuck toy. We will have to work on your language. There is no need to be so crass and unrefined. Maybe my little toy is what you started out being, But when I saw your mind, you are my perfect match. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for you. But we cannot go any further until this," he poked me in the head again, "joins in the fun, and we are running out of time." He bucked my hips forward with his own, rammed a long, wiggling digit inside of me, and began to thrust in time with the stroking hand in my erection. Please, oh, please, please. What the hell was I begging for? I should be fighting him. He kidnapped me and turned me into his own personal sex doll and drinking fountain. His mouth was at the back of my neck, but this time there was only sucking kisses and that healing tongue of his. It stung, but it was more of a cigarette burn now rather than a branding iron. You deserve gentleness, sex. You deserve to be held and cherished for the special creature that you are. I want to do that for you, but you keep fighting me. In a way, it is erotic. Another sucking kiss, hard enough to leave a hickey, was placed on the underside of my jaw. I never expected you to give in easily, but then I never thought the task would be so hard. I could break you completely, but what would that leave me? It would not be you, sex. I want to sleep with you in my arms and not have to worry about getting knifed again. These words were all whispered into my ear through my curtain of hair. I wanted to laugh, but the sensation he was wringing out of my body was getting too intense. I was horrified as my traitorous body began thrusting back on his fingers, then pumping forward into his stroking palm. Maybe he was right about my body accepting him. At least it was acclimatized to his size now, because of the daily attacks since the day he kidnapped me. Back then, I had been left bloody and torn, in nothing but searing pain. The living room, which is practically empty now, had been tastefully decorated. Canvases, crystal vases, stemware, all sorts of breakable paraphernalia. Marcus had been overly excited that night, or was it day? And after the third penetration in the space of an hour, I grabbed the nearest thing within my reach, a letter opener, and I rammed it deep into his chest. That was the start of the day of firsts for me. That was the first time I had ever seen those red eyes of his. To say he was pissed at what I was done was the understatement of the century. I discovered a lot of things that day. I found out how strong he was when he threw me across the room with only one arm. I learned how much pain my body could endure before passing out. My forearm was broken in 2 places, but I was still perfectly able to experience my first red-eyed rape. I've since discovered that when he's extremely turned on, or agitated, his brown eyes turn that reddish cast and glow with a fire within. Creepy shit. That also was the first time I was introduced to being a portable blood bag for a vampire, and more importantly, I learned to be still when Marcus was drinking from me, because it hurt way too much to struggle. And honestly, what was the use? His fangs were already in my life fountain by the time I became aware that he was drinking. Did I mention that he could move faster than a speeding bullet? When he pulled the letter opener out of his chest, I wanted him to stab me with it to simply end this horror show that was masquerading as my life. Instead, Marcus dropped the knife, ran his index finger through his own blood, and pinned me up against the wall, which was good because I couldn't have stood even if I had the strength to do so. He ran his bloodied finger down my forehead, down my nose, and across my lips. You have the honor of first blood. I remember watching, stupidly weak from blood loss and the pain of broken bones, as the red glare faded from his eyes and returned them to plain chocolate brown. That was the first time I felt him in my mind. Considering the heated violence he had just put me through, this was the polar opposite. His mental touch was like a soft, cool summer's night breeze playing around in my head. I am going to have to watch myself with you, sex. You are a minefield. I explode every time I touch you. He let go of me, and I slid down the wall, landing hard on my abused backside. I could only stare up at him. I thought I had just been drugged and picked up by some sort of maniac with a vampire fetish. The letter opener should have been my ticket out, either with him dead or me dead. But this? A real vampire? Not some weird geek with red contacts and fangs, but a real vampire? I couldn't get my head around that. I knew my parents believed in this crap, but I thought I was better. Vampires were only legends. They weren't real. They couldn't be real, right? I felt my neck and found 2 deep puncture wounds, still trickling fresh blood. A vampire had taken me from a bar, locked me up, God knows where, and was raping me regularly, drinking from me when he felt like it, and holding on to me like I was a favorite stuffed doll. The drinking part was far worse than the sex. I shuddered and fell over sideways, directly onto my broken arm. Fucking vampire. Not just any vampire sex. My name is Marcus, and I am yours. I'd fainted, his final words ringing in my ears. My last thought as the darkness enveloped me was, it was about damn time.